Hello everyone, welcome to the new episode of Professionals Unplugged. I am your host Utkarsh Shukla and today we have Vesna with us. Vesna, thank you so much for joining in.
Thank you for having me.
So let's start with a very basic question. Can you please introduce yourself to our audience, like who you are, what work you do, anything you want us to know?
Sure, my name is Vesna and I live in beautiful but rainy Vancouver, Canada. And I'm also the mother of two teenage boys who are the most important people in my life. And for work, I've actually been freelance for almost 20 years, which a lot of people find shocking. But yeah, I've been freelance for the past 20 years. And right now, for the past few years, I have been working as a copywriter, and I basically partner with B2B companies and help them hone their messaging on their website, on their landing pages, and to help them communicate the value of their product in a way that resonates with their ideal customers.
That's really interesting. So as you have mentioned, for last 20 years, you have been doing freelancing, right? So how difficult is it to get clients online and especially in today's world when AI is rising, everyone is trying to get their content written by AI, right? So starting with the first question, let's start with the basic one. Like, how do you approach the clients and how do you try to build the trust with them?
Okay, so one of the things that has always come naturally to me, I think, is that I have an insatiable curiosity. And because I have that curiosity, I'm never satisfied with surface level answers. And so, because of that, I have, anytime that whatever I have been doing in my freelance career, I've never been satisfied with just being an order taker or uh, creating a deliverable, right? Like I'm not just even if a client comes to me already having done the strategy and they've already kind of decided what they need. Now they're just looking for a service provider to deliver it. I never just uh, stop there and do what I'm asked to do and then deliver it. So because I have this insatiable curiosity, I ask a ton of questions. And so in that process of asking questions, often we end up digging so much deeper than the surface. And what usually comes out of that, like client, freelancer relationship is that I always end up locking in somehow with being more of a strategic partner to them. So that's one of the reasons why, as soon as AI became super mainstream, it didn't really at the time even affect me. And in fact, a lot of like my clients are in tech and they are very well versed in AI. And so even the clients who have a deep understanding of AI and know the possibilities, they still come to me because I'm more of a strategic partner to them and not just somebody who creates a deliverable or gives them an output that they're looking for, if that makes sense.
That's really awesome. And that's the most important thing, right? For building the trust and starting with the scratch, asking the question to know more about the clients. And rather than serving as a freelancer, serve as a partner to them. Then that is the point where the
Exactly.
comes in, right? Right.
Exactly. Yeah.
So what are the biggest challenges that you think you have faced in your life?
I would say that most of the challenges I face are of my own making. So, um, I can sometimes be my own worst enemy. And there's sort of these things in my life and the way that I think that continually um, pose a challenge for me. And that is that I'm a chronic overthinker and I'm a chronic perfectionist. And I also have a chronic inner critic. So in in almost every single challenge that I've ever faced in my life, I feel that I faced it because I made things harder for myself than they needed to be. So, I mean, I can give you lots of examples, but it could be from big things or small things, but most of it is honestly not because other people are making my life hard, or that there's some kind of external, extenuating circumstance that I'm faced with. It's in fact, a lot of times those ones tend to be not as big of a challenge for me to overcome. Most of my challenges have always been internal. So, yeah, and it's like, I'll take a long time to make decisions. So even, let's say you're faced or I'm faced with a problem because I'm a chronic overthinker, sometimes I sit in the valley of decision for way too long when I could just be, you know, proverbially pull the trigger and just say, okay, I'm going to go this way. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I'm going to do this. So my problem is that I try and figure things out way too much before I take action. So I think that is like the sort of the root problem, the root cause of most of the challenges that I've ever faced.
Correct. And is there any story that you like to share from your journey till now?
Yeah. So one of the interesting things is that I, for years, avoided anything to do with marketing. And I know that that is a very common story of a lot of people who end up in marketing kind of end up in marketing almost by accident. And some people have misconceptions of marketing going in. So that's, there's nothing unique about that. But for me, I guess what I find super interesting is that I really actively avoided it for many years. And somehow I ended up now, I basically like I work directly with VPs of marketing, CMOs, performance marketers. Uh, I'm a direct support to uh, companies' marketing departments, and I write for marketing materials, right? So somehow I ended up in the exact place that I was trying to avoid for years, but what's interesting is that the two main reasons I avoided it for so many years is one, I always associated marketing with manipulation, basically manipulating people to make decisions to buy. And so I always looked at it sort of as a like deceptive a deceptive type of thing that people we're trying to get people to spend money that they don't have on things that they don't need. But of course that is like a really caricaturized view of marketing, and a lot of us, I think, before we've ever experienced um, marketing is we always think of the used car salesman as sort of like the epitome of like really um, that pushy marketing and sales stuff that we all don't like. And I think the reason is that the best marketing is marketing you don't really notice. Of course, once you're in marketing, you notice all marketing. But before that, anytime you've ever purchased something or that you really ended up being a good decision is because the messages that you encountered really spoke to you. It spoke to your experience, your problem, and it also accurately represented this product or service as something that could truly solve your problem. So, because like I guess what I'm trying to say is like the best marketing moments by the layperson aren't noticed, and so that's why I feel like we have this negativity bias towards marketing, because like we notice really bad marketing, right? So that's like one thing I wanted to share. And the other thing too is the other reason why I avoided it for the longest time is that I just always there's stories that I held stories I told myself about myself that weren't true. I so kind of just to back up a little bit, in my academic life, I was always a very logical person. Um, I when I was studying English, so I have a BA in English. So when I was doing my English degree, I remember as an English major, you always had this sort of divide between the creative English majors and like the really analytical English majors, right? So, some English majors loved taking poetry class. They loved taking creative writing class. They like, for me, I was the opposite end of that. I was all about literary theory. I loved writing essays and research papers and like that stuff. And so I always associated marketing with being for the creative people. And that's one of the biggest reasons why I avoided copywriting for so many years. And I instead became an editor. So, like, my earlier part of my freelance career was all editing. And so I kept telling myself, Vesna, you are not creative. Therefore, you cannot be a copywriter. Therefore, you should never have anything to do with marketing, right? But as life kind of unfolds, a lot of times you find out that you were wrong about yourself and you were wrong about the thing that you were judging. And you discover the like life surprises you and you end up doing the exact things that you said that you didn't want to do or weren't capable of doing. And then I ended up actually discovering that I was way more creative than I thought I was, but also I did not know and did not realize how much research and analysis is the backbone of marketing, right? So I ended up using those skills in an area that I kind of didn't even realize were part and parcel of that area. Yeah. So anyways, that's my story of how like I avoided my marketing and copywriting for years, ended up in it by accident a little bit, and then ended up loving it.
It's like a complete circle you have completed, trying to avoid it and now working on it, making a life of
Exactly. Yeah.
it. And now talking about the advices. So what are the advice that you follow in your life and that you would like to share with us?
So, um, I'll share three things. So one is it kind of goes back to what I said earlier about the importance of curiosity. So my first advice would be to stay curious. So in a lot of times in life we can get distracted by the need to develop a specific skill, right? But curiosity can be your superpower. And curiosity isn't something like some people are just naturally curious, but even if you aren't naturally curious, it's not that hard to cultivate. And I find that staying curious can be your superpower because you always end up, that curiosity leads you to ask very important questions. So it's all about like digging deeper, whether that is um, as an employee, asking your leadership the right questions, asking your peers the right questions, just staying curious, and maybe not even just the emphasis on the questions being right, but by being curious, you end up uncovering a lot of things, and that discovery helps you to do a better job. It helps you to serve clients better. It helps you to just um, it can actually significantly alter the outcome for the better, whatever it is that you're doing. So that's number one. And then the second one I would say is don't be afraid to be generous. And the reason I say that is I find that it's very popular to like the messages that we're surrounded with in our lives in social media. Um, there's this popular message that we keep hearing about having boundaries and which is important. I know having boundaries is important, but like there's this prevailing narrative of um like don't give more of yourself than you need to, like don't let people take advantage of you all that stuff, right? Like this is a very popular message. And I just find that in a way, as a society, we have let the pendulum swing too far. And I think, so I'm a firm believer that when you're generous, people will appreciate it. Of course, don't let people take advantage of you. Obviously, if somebody gives you a reason to no longer be generous, then take that as a cue. But I find that in life, more often than not, being generous is actually a very rewarding thing. And you'll find that when you share freely of yourself, when you just go, maybe just that little extra mile, or it comes back to you in some way. You build trust. People refer you to others in their network. They trust you as a person, not just as an employee or service provider. So, like, don't be afraid to be generous. It is counter narrative to what we are surrounded with, but so definitely, don't be afraid to be generous. And then, lastly, I would also say, um, give people the benefit of the doubt. So assume the best in others. One of the things that can happen easily in life, and a lot of times it's because of our own insecurities, is that when somebody has a certain tone or maybe maybe they're even like angry, or maybe they are upset about something and it rubs you the wrong way, or maybe someone's rough around the edges. Um, Try to remember that it's not you, like you're not the reason. And so one of the practices that I have in my life is I always assume the best in others. If someone is being mean to me, and this could be like, you're out in the world, like you could be grocery shopping or going to the bank, right? And a lot of times people are hurting. And when you assume the best in others and give people the benefit of the doubt, a lot of times they will open up to you and it brings down barriers and walls. And like you find that there's actually more reason to be compassionate than to be, um, kind of retaliate, right? So I think that just giving people the benefit of the doubt and assuming the best of others until they give you a reason not to believe that, that's like a really key thing in life, no matter where life takes you.
That's the most important thing, I think, to be generous and be kind to the people who are with you, right?
Yeah.
So, last but not the least, what's your dream right now?
Okay, so my dream, to one day not have to worry about paying bills. So, the reason I say that is so a lot of people talk about like, they're chasing the next dream and this, and I think maybe in my life I need more of this, like setting audacious goals and stuff like that. But as a mom of two boys, I found that once I became a mother, my life became kind of this day-to-day, just, survival mode, but also um, you start to realize that these big, lofty goals that you might want for your life, or like maybe you kind of like dream of being wealthy, independently wealthy one day, or this or that. Um, there's something that I have a bit of a different perspective. So I feel that a lot of people chase dreams at the expense of doing the basics right in life. So once I became a mother, one of my biggest goals became to raise good human beings. Because what is the point of chasing some big, crazy goal and then, for example, having your relationships suffer, or having, not being connected to your own children and stuff like that, right? So sometimes we sacrifice too much chasing some distant dream when we could be making the best of life right now, right here, right now with the people you love. So, um, I, because I'm the kind of person who takes pleasure in simple things, in laughter, in building relationships, and having um, quality time with my kids, making sure that they go into life equipped. Um, I just don't bother chasing some crazy dream. And we've all seen people achieve dreams and then get cancer and die. It sounds terribly like morbid, I know, but when you think of like even celebrities or think of famous people and people that you admire and you sometimes wish that you were them, or like them, but then you see that they're susceptible to all the same tragedies that can befall anyone. It just kind of it just puts things into perspective. And in my case, anyway, it makes me want to just enjoy the basics of life, right? And it would be nice to one day have enough money to never worry about bills. But even if I got to that point, I know that I wouldn't be, um, having like I would still have a simple lifestyle, is what I'm trying to say. And that's my dream is to have a simple, happy lifestyle, to continue to have great relationships with my kids, and the important people in my life. So yeah.
I think this is the best part to end this podcast. So thank you so much, Vesna, for joining in. It was
Mhm.
really a pleasure to know you and hope you achieve your dream soon.
Yeah. Yeah. And I hope the same for you. It was really nice chatting with you and meeting you.
Thank you.